Hello everyone. This is the 35th part of the story, Avatar in DC Universe. Chapter 103, Realm Upgrade Final Part. Aden's Point of View. The mental recording abruptly ended and I found myself back on the island. An island that would soon need a name if it was to be the birthplace of the new worker drones designed to develop new infrastructure and keep the environment secure and intact. I looked at the silver ring on my thumb in indecision. To be honest, this was what I wanted, but I was also conflicted. Future me was invested in making sure I made it out alive, that much was true. However, what assurance did I have that I would make it to his time the way I wanted? What if whatever upload I used to upgrade the realm was something beneficial to him and not me? It's a deeper question than it might seem. And I was slowly learning to ask such questions. Well, I guess all I can do is take the chance that this won't screw me badly down the line. And even if it does, cutting down the time for the upgrade from 1 year to 3 months is a deal I can live with. I told myself and stepped forward. My hand came up and touched the energy field surrounding the tower. Instead of bouncing off, the palm sank in with a light tingling sensation. I took a deep breath and crossed through the membrane with minimal hesitation. Now that I was inside the tower, I could feel massive energy of the same signature as a father box, just missing the sinister feel throbbing through the space. The tower was directly connected to the core of my world, which was the cleansed father box paired up with Morrow's code and bound together by the Avatar state's order energy. The tower was directly tapping into the flow of energy and using that power to create a production hub for worker drones. That was all there was to it. The miner #0234 main task was to refine minerals and transport that mineral back to the Skoniad home planet or their outposts in the nearest star sector. The smart algorithm maintaining the realm had taken that chance to tweak the miner's core objective into something else. Left alone, the realm was in the process of further upgrading that smart algorithm into something more. The combination of the three factors, Father Box for source energy, Morrow's code as the building blocks and integrity, and the Avatar state's order energy to balance everything would give rise to something completely different. True consciousness. To hasten the process, that's where the MDP came in. Which is also why I was hesitant into fully trusting it. What if the resulting true consciousness was loyal to me but not this me? Gah, this shit is too convoluted. I feel like I'm taking an unnecessary risk. Should I go through with this? I took another hard look at the silver ring on my thumb. Be in control. I remembered those words from future me. This didn't feel like I was in control. I lowered my hand and stepped back. I couldn't take unnecessary risks anymore. Not until I had the odds stacked in my favor. To ensure that the MDP would be in my full control, I was going to have to seek some mystical help. Future me was probably expecting me to rush into this because of the contradictory statement he added on later about power being the one thing I could count on, but like I said before, I was starting to learn. So no using the MDP until I was sure it was safe to utilize. I spared one look at the island before jumping inside a boom tube. There were many strong wizards, sorcerers, and magicians I could get help from. Votan was a beast easily on Dr. Fate's level at his strongest. Faust could take on Wonder Woman and Zatara in a fight and successfully escape, though full-powered Zatanna would be more than his match, and the less said about figures like Madame Xanadu, Morgan Le Fay, Circe, Enchantress, just to name a few, the better. My point is, to completely bind the MDP to me and erase any outside influences, I had a lot of options. Every villain was immediately off the table though. Who knew what sort of backdoor, stipulation or deal they would try to sell and then double-cross me later? I couldn't risk it. In that same vein, most of the heroes were out as well. I had to go for someone who I could leverage against. Someone who wasn't too powerful that I couldn't escape when I needed but also inclined to listen to me. That said, I was not going in like I was. The realm could wait a few more weeks before I upgraded it. In fact, the only role the MDP had was to shorten that time frame, and while I agree it was less stressful to just go through with it, seeing as, if anything bad happened to me, future me would also be in trouble, this was one of the times I had to hit the brakes. Assume control. And to increase my odds and be in a better bargaining position, I had to power up. I made it back into my room, through the boom tube, and immediately left to find my landlord. Friend? The door to the living room was closed, so I gently knocked, not wanting to interrupt whatever he was doing now, and waited. A few more seconds and I knocked again. I was about to push through when door swung open. Instantly, a blast of hard rock assaulted my ears. Maze ran her eyes over me disinterestedly. "Oh, it's just you." With that she turned back and walked away. I followed her in, closing the door behind me with a barely audible click due to the delicious ear rape going on. "I'll explain in a few." "Where is Lucifer?" I shouted over the music. "What?" She shouted back from the couch where she was bobbing her head to Beelzebub by Tenacious D, the final showdown of the movie by Jack Black and Kyle Gass that was playing on the huge TV screen. Maze made to pause the movie, but I jumped over the couch and stole the remote. She narrowed her eyes at me, but I shook my head with a knowing smile, then turned to watch the underrated movie that had become a cult classic. It's fucking tasty. I'm the devil, I can do what I want. Whatever I've got I'm gonna flaunt. There's never been a rock-off that I've ever lost. I can't wait to take Kage back to hell. I'm gonna fill him with my hot demon gel. I'll make him squeal like my Scarlet Pimpernel. Interlude, Jack Black, Kyle Gass, both. No. Come on Kage, bring the thunder. There's just no way that we can win. That was a masterpiece. Listen to me. He rocks too hard. Because he's not a mortal man. God damn it, Kage. He gonna make you his sex slave. You're gonna gargle mayonnaise. No. Unless we bust a massive monster mama jam. Dude, we've been through so much shit. Deactivated lasers with my dick. Now it's time to blow this fucker down. Verse 2, Jack Black, Kyle Gass, both. Come on, Kage. Now it's time to blow doors down. I hear you jabless. Now it's time to blow doors down. Light up the stage. 'Cause it's time for a showdown. We'll bend you over. Then we'll take you to Brown Town. Now we've got to blow this fucker down. He's gonna rape me if we do not blow doors down. Come on Kage. 'Cause it's time to blow doors down. Oh, we'll pile drive ya. It's time for the smackdown. Hey Antichrister. Beelzebub. We know your weakness. Our rocket sauce. We rock the Casbah. And blow your mind. We will defeat you. For all mankind. You hold the scepter. We hold the key. You are the devil. We are the D, times 18. The lyrics went on until the song was complete. By the end of it, Maze was laughing so hard tears were running down her cheeks. Can you imagine Lucifer's face if he ever watched this movie? It would be priceless. I told her, setting her off into a laugh fest once again. A few minutes later and the movie was done. I turned to her and waited eagerly. She saw me staring and sighed. Okay, I'll admit you humans have a penchant for the unexpected. That wasn't half bad. Yeah, it wasn't. Jack Black is a fucking rock star. I responded, and we talked for a few more minutes about other comedy movies she could watch. I even promised her that we could do a movie marathon, to show her more of what humanity had to offer in the ways of entertainment media. So far the only thing she deemed worthy of humanity's continued existence was the booze. I sucked in a hiss, the only thing standing between Maze and her pushing the big apocalyptic button if she had won, was the booze. The booze. That's a short list that I aim to change. So what did you want with Lucifer? Maze finally wondered. Well, I still have 2 more missions to carry out before he and I are square. She nodded for me to continue. But I was thinking of taking 2 weeks off to just rest up and unwind from everything, if it's possible. I guess I just wanted to know how urgent the next 2 missions are. I don't want to risk putting people's lives in danger just to take a break when I can deal with the missions now and be done with them. She nodded and poured herself a drink from somewhere. The bottle literally appeared from mid-air. Well, you're in luck. After you sent Galil and Mammon back to hell, your other targets have grown cautious and are wisely keeping their heads down. Your next mission was to go to Las Vegas and deal with a sex demon. Her jaw tensed and she tightened her palm on the glass. Seems like she had some personal history with that particular demon. Luckily, she is not one to cause senseless murder, so 2 weeks is okay, I guess. I got up. Thanks. Hope you don't mind telling Lucifer about that new arrangement? I requested. She waved me off. Don't worry about it, kid. Go do what you have to do. With that, I left. Time to rest, and after that, I'm getting started on the first firebending sub-skill. Chapter 104, Aden's Break. Aden's point of view, a week later. 1 week had gone by. Well, 6 days to be exact, so by all counts, almost a week. 1 week where I forgot all the pressure bearing down on my shoulders. 1 week where I took the time to get in touch with my roots again. Seeing as I couldn't travel anywhere else without calling attention to myself through using the new ID and passport Batman had procured for me, I decided to stay in LA. It was home, just in another universe altogether, so if there was a place I could feel at ease and relaxed, it was here. Hence I begun my week of fun by hitting the places that I shared memories of all my loved ones at. The first place was the arcade. My friends and I used to go there almost every day after school, before it was shut down and a gym replaced it. It was more of a way to hang out with them more than playing games. Then I made sure to hit the basketball court with a few of the locals, where my neighborhood used to be. Of course, every residential area was different than what I was familiar with back at my world, but the feel of the place was the same. Heck, even the spot where I used to go to school had an high school built on it. So barring a few things, I could close my eyes and listen with my ears, pretending that I was still home. I did a lot of things during that week. Fortunately, most of the places I grew up going to were present in this world, in some form or other. There was an ice skating rig my pops used to take me, where I went to and enjoyed myself. An old movie theater that was crazy enough, almost the same as the one in my memories. The smell of the seats and the setup was an exact replica that left me drowning in a sea of good memories. An Italian restaurant that had been renovated and funnily enough been turned into a Chinese restaurant. The seafood there was amazing. And now 6 days later I was sitting inside a table at a froyo shop. This wasn't a place that brought about nostalgia. Looking at the newly painted walls, it was clear that the shop was relatively new. But I love froyo so. We interrupt this program to bring you breaking news. A sudden press address has been called by the Justice League and our on-scene reporter, Cat Grant, is there to bring us more information. I frowned while watching the screen. What could the League be up to? A week had gone by after my little stunt at the Watchtower and I hadn't heard anything about the fallout of both my actions and the mission. That said, it didn't take a genius to deduce that they were not my biggest fans now. Superman stepped forward and took center stage. Not all League members were present. There was a distinct lack of the Thanagarian heroes, the resident speedster, Aquaman, Captain Atom and Green Arrow. Everyone else was gathered behind Superman. He tapped the mic once and the gathered press went silent. The same thing happened in the shop, where everyone turned their attention to the Kryptonian. The camera focused on his face and it was obvious whatever he wanted to say was not good news. Hello, everyone. I want to thank you all for making it here despite the short notice. He briefly went silent before he continued to address the crowd. The Justice League is more than just a gathering of like-minded individuals. It's more than its roster of powerful, skilled, and smart heroes. It's more than the numerous wins against the injustice of the world or the obstacle to be overcome by those seeking to harm others. The Justice League is a symbol of freedom and hope. A beacon of light when things turn dire. The Justice League is an idea. He stopped to clear his throat and continued amid the flashing lights and snaps from the camera. That said, it is never easy when we lose one of our own. His voice took on a somber tone. We are gathered here today to inform you of Batman's resignation from the League. Shock hit the crowd like a lightning bolt. I heard a small crash and saw one of the waitress hurriedly cleaning up froyo from the floor. She had dropped the cup in surprise at the unexpected news. Soups held up his hand to get everyone to quiet down. I know you all have questions. But please, let me finish first. Batman is a hero unlike any other. We have all learned something from working with him. He's someone who inspires you to do your best. To give nothing less than 100% of your effort when doing something. His resignation is due to personal matters that I am not at liberty to discuss. However, let me assure you that the League will not stumble or fall in the absence of his leadership and companionship. We will use this chance to honor him. To honor his legacy by doing what we do best, save the world. Any further questions can be directed to our Public Affairs Officer, Miss Catherine Colbert. Thank you. Well damn. They fucked. Someone said in a booth further inside the shop. I spared a glance and saw a young kid with cornrows, another wearing a long Lakers basketball jersey and a girl with braces and pigtails. They looked to be about Wally's age. So probably juniors or sophomores in high school. What you mean, Coop? The cornrows kid asked. I raised an eyebrow at the name drop. Think about it. Bats is the strategic mind of the team. Most of the fights the League's been in, his help has been invaluable. I'm telling you guys, the League is in big trouble. The kid wearing a Lakers basketball jersey shook his head. You're wrong. He doesn't even have superpowers. Look at Superman and Wonder Woman. The only reason the villains ever get the jump on them is because they never go all out. We could count the number of supervillains who can go toe-to-toe with them on one hand. So they will probably not even notice his absence. Both of you ain't wrong. But you still missing the point. Sean, it ain't always about the power, dog. It's utility. Look at Manhunter, you'd think that dude can probably take out the whole League due to the many superpowers he possesses, but that ain't ever happening 'cause he ain't resourceful with them. On the other side, skill and strategy can't bridge the gap between a peak human like the Dark Knight and Superman. So like he said, the Justice League is gonna be fine even with Batman. Because it ain't about one person, it's the sum of all parts. The cornrows kid said. The other two stared at each other in a little surprise. Dom Spence, when'd you turn into one of those Cape Geek analysts on us? Coop joked. Coop's right, I wasn't expecting that. The one called Sean added while laughing. Their names sounded very familiar. I put it out of my head when the screen shifted from Cat Grant to show G. Gordon Godfrey's smug face plastered on the screen. Damn, the guy had such a punchable face, my fingers involuntarily tightened as I felt like kicking his ass just on principle. The oily words coming off his mouth sounded so gross. Well. Can't say I'm surprised, folks. This is what happens when you cannot control your own house. When you have skeletons hiding in your own closet. And no, folks, I am not trying to spin this into something like a conspiracy theory, but look at the facts. A founding member of the Justice League has just resigned. Why? Ask yourself why someone like Batman, known for his staunch belief in upholding justice, would choose to leave the organization he himself helped found. The League is clearly hiding something. Something huge from the public. After the fiasco with the destruction of Mount Justice, one can't help but wonder, has the Justice League finally outgrown its usefulness? Are these cases of incompetence going to increase? We might not know what happens behind their closed doors, my fellow Americans, but one thing is for sure, the whole world is watching. He concluded in an ominous tone that just didn't sit right with me. That guy, something was definitely wrong with him. Batman leaving the League would no doubt affect the view the world had on the Justice League. Batman and Green Arrow were the only two heroes in that lineup who didn't possess alien origins, a meta-gene that gave them power, super powerful alien weapons, or an accident that gave them superpowers. They were just normal dudes. Normal highly trained dudes whose entire deal was to use gadgets and their brains to stand next to literal gods. And now that Bats was out, the fear and prejudice that the average unaware person had would increase. Their biggest hope and protectors were made up of abnormal people. Because humanity likes to shit on the minority, the League were not going to have it completely easy. Not to mention Batman or Bruce Wayne was their main source of funding as well. I wonder how that setup was going to work now that he was out of the picture. Not like any of it concerned me. I got up from my seat and paid, leaving the shop but promising myself I would be coming back. They had really good froyo. I went behind the alley to the shop, a boom tube appearing at my front, and jumped in. Now that the week was over, it was time to get back to the grind. I had a sub-skill to master. Chapter 105, First Firebending Sub-Skill Part 1. Aden's Point of View. The first stop upon leaving the froyo shop was a good donut place where I got a special order. I had used a portal to get there because of the distance between the two places. I opened another boom tube to Sanctuary and made that portal disappear in favor of another one that manifested at my front. I jumped in without a second thought and walked out of the boom tube to find myself in the garden belonging to the local parish. The Catholic church where I went to ask for holy water. I needed some more for an experiment. More specifically, my first firebending sub-skill. It was a 20-minute affair. Probably helped by the donuts I got for the nice priest. I left the church with a bottle of holy water and a prayer upon my soul by the priest that I be saved from whatever was troubling me. Another boom tube on the empty garden and I found myself in Sanctuary. I walked towards the makeshift gazebo I had built over time since getting the elemental dimension and immediately settled into a meditative pose. It would have been better to do this in the fire plane due to the deeper connection it provided to my fire bending, but what I was going for was calm focus. Something I wouldn't get with the stuffy feeling of my air bending being suppressed. I breathed in lightly, holding the breath for a few seconds before letting it out. Then I held that for a few more seconds and repeated the cycle. I fell into the breathing routine easily and my mind emptied of all distraction as I sought to keep one thought in my mind. Fire. Pure burning flames. The life and death it brings. A perfect cycle of destruction and rebirth. A familiar and warm stirring appeared below my navel. The hearth. My source of flame. Gentle tongues of this wonderful source of energy were stoked by the breath running inside my veins, and it rose up to follow a predetermined route. A route through my body. This time I let it go unrestrained as I followed an instinctual feeling. My powers had to this point been completely different from the normal bending. How far that notion went was something that I had never tested before. However, sitting in that meditative position, I was in tune with the flame inside my body more than I had ever been before. So I followed my intuition, I let it burn freely. And something happened. I felt it get rid of every toxic substance in my body as it run rampant through my body. I felt warmth encompass my whole form in a cocoon. I didn't know it at the time, but had you looked at me from the outside, you would have noticed a shroud of red flames burning around my body. The gazebo remained untouched, however, as were my clothes. What was even stranger was the black liquid that was being produced from my body, covering my skin in a black coating before it was burned to nothing by the flame, leaving behind unblemished dark skin. I opened my mouth a few hours later and exhaled. A blackened cloud of steam escaped it and I opened my eyes to a new reality. The world seemed brighter. The details much more clearer. I listened and I could even hear more. I rose up and stared at myself. I was still dressed in a loose t-shirt and black sweatpants, but they radiated heat as if they were freshly ironed. They also gave off a fresh smell. As if they'd just been washed and dried a few seconds ago. The way the fabric felt on my skin was strange as well. My skin felt more sensitive. All my sensory skills were somewhat heightened. I stretched my body and felt the kinks in my bones disappear. Okay, That felt better than every massage I've ever gotten. I wonder what? My statement was cut short by a blinking text box at the corner of my vision. I sat back down and accessed the display box. Congratulations. Fire is unique amongst the other elements. And you, my friend, have just figured out one of the reasons why. To put in simple terms, fire is active, the rest are passive. Kinda. It gets iffy sometimes. But you get the point. Anyway, your efforts have rewarded you with a new perk. Body refinement. Stoke your inner flame and use it to burn away weakness. By using the energy of flames, your body is refined continuously. Getting rid of poison, toxins, dirt and other unsavory bits. Shower in a kin, baby. Be careful not to overdo it though. Just as fire can cause the rebirth of a phoenix, so can it turn the world into a burning wasteland. I closed the display box a little shocked. This new perk was a surprise. An unexpected but very welcome surprise. It had the same utility as my adaptive physiology, but I had never tested the limits of that perk fully. Call it what you will, but the truth is my focus had been split between mastering the elements I had access to and getting more skilled to ensure I wouldn't die in this world. So much had happened over the course of a few months, it was crazy. Anyway, the new perk was awesome and I could see myself using it limitedly but occasionally when I'm meditating to refine my body. This skill was straight up xianxia. The other good thing about it was that it would help me burn away any harmful substances from my body. But it wasn't really what I had wanted to focus on. So I moved on to the reason I was there. I eyed the bottle of holy water in my palm and unscrewed its lid. Then I gently poured the liquid onto my palm and closed my eyes. Time to come clean about what I was doing. You see, for my first fire-bending sub-skill, I could go the route of lightning bending or combustion bending. The two most prominent fire-bending sub-skills known. But here's what I was thinking. While those two were very powerful and cool, lightning bending being especially versatile, given the ideas I had on how I could use it to even increase my speed, they just wouldn't cut it at the moment. I had 2 more missions going up against demons, and if it wasn't for my timely use of a boom tube to send Mammon to my dimension where I was stronger, I couldn't really hurt the powerful ones. Unless I had a way to use their weaknesses against them. The fight with Nemeth had shown me that holy fire was basically their kryptonite. I could choose to master lightning bending or combustion now, or choose to master holy fire as my first sub-skill and have an easier time with the next demons and then get back on the grind and master the other 2 later. Here's the thing, turns out there wasn't a quota on how many sub-skills I could get. 2 mastered sub-skills was just the minimum requirement to carry out the advancement trial to Grandmaster. And with the air-bending advancement trial being Aang, I wanted to tip the scales in my favor this time, knowing I would go up against any of the best firebenders. Having 3 or even more sub-skills before I took the advancement trial would no doubt make it much easier to contend with beasts like Iroh. And it doesn't stop there. See, I most definitely knew I was fucked once Lucifer withdrew his protection, so to speak. So I decided to go even further. If I could find a way to not only increase the effects of the holy fire into not only affecting demons or impure beings but also any being that could turn me into shish kebab, no matter their alignment, I would have a really powerful card up my sleeve. I was aiming for something like an all-devouring flame. But that was far off. I first needed to see if I could even do this. I spread out my nascent energy sense that was growing stronger by the day, just like my telepathy, and observed. My fire started burning the holy water. I was trying to delve into the same mindset I had just before I'd confronted Nemeth. I had been following instinct at that time as well. The water evaporated even faster this time. A small explosion of electric energy erratically streaked through the air and time stopped. It was different from the temporal anomaly back at the watchtower. This time I could feel my body actively fighting off the effects. My thought process slowed down as a bright pinprick of light appeared in my mind. The light was surrounded by a void of darkness from all around. I lost all my sensations as the light grew increasingly bigger in my vision. My whole being was pulled away from my mortal shell. I couldn't feel the light breeze on my skin anymore. I couldn't smell the scent of the ocean, I couldn't hear the soft waves rock the seashore. All that I was occupied by the light. Like a fire burning in the middle of a canvas, the light pushed away the void of darkness. The darkness lashed out but was ultimately defeated and fell back, to slumber. Waiting, biding its time. My hand reached out into the light, intent on capturing its divine and pure essence. I didn't understand what I was doing. I wasn't thinking. I wasn't feeling. All I knew was that fulfillment was just a touch away. I touched it. Instantly, I felt gazes lock onto me. Onto my soul. I felt my soul be judged and found unworthy. Terror gripped the entirety of my core as the gazes turned hostile and the light pulled away. No, I was pulled away from it. My eyes opened up suddenly into my elemental dimension. They opened up to one of the scariest and strangest scenes I had ever seen. A blinding light of glory and **blar***. Beautiful. Beautiful. So bizarre. I blinked and all that was replaced by him. I had just seen his true form and my mind had been mere seconds away from going totally insane. His back was to me. His black wings spread out in their full majesty. But the most surprising thing was the billions of light floating in the air to oppose him. Blinding figures dressed in armor, carrying huge swords and spears. They were easily 7 feet tall and huge. Angels. The heavenly host. At the front stood 6 beings. Their white wings were larger and more substantial than the rest of the angels. The archangels. My heart hammered in my chest and my brain went blank. What the fuck have I done? Lucifer looked over his shoulder at me. His face seemed sharper. His jawline more defined and his eyes, they weren't the red color I was expecting, instead, they were gold. A gorgeous gold that saw through everything. A smile was spread out across his face. I'll be honest with you, Aden. I am impressed. He laughed before turning his attention back to the heavenly host. I rose up urgently to get ready for the fight when I immediately found myself stumbling in my room back at the penthouse in Club Lux. I looked around in shock. He'd teleported me away. This marks the end of part 35 of the story, Avatar in DC Universe. Thank you for listening. Please like the video and hit the subscribe button to listen more. Hit the bell icon to get notified of all the new content uploaded to the channel ASAP.